Senator. Senator Heinrich.
Thank you, Chairman. Chief, welcome.
Thank you.
Across the West, balancing the multiple use mandate of the Forest Service can be very challenging. And one of the places we've seen this in the Southwest is where we have occasionally had livestock-wildlife conflicts, particularly with bighorn sheep, native cutthroat trout, and endangered Mexican gray wolves. And one of the tools to resolve wildlife-livestock conflicts that has been successful in a very limited number of cases, but quite successful, is the voluntary retirement of grazing allotment permits. And it's provided quite a bit of economic certainty to individual producers. I've heard from several livestock producers in New Mexico who would like to retire their permits and also very much want to keep their family's base property because so many family memories are tied up in those places. But there's really no clear process for doing this, even in cases where there's a very obvious and demonstrated sort of local conflict that we're trying to resolve. So can you explain why there's not a clear administrative procedure for the Forest Service to accept and retire grazing allotments at the request of the permit holder as a way to resolve some of these long-term resource conflicts?
Yes, I think but there's two issues that need to be responded to. First, a permittee may choose to waive their grazing permit back to the Forest Service at any time. There's no prohibition on that. The decision to actually close the grazing allotment is made by the Forest Service, and it is guided by the goals and the objectives of the land management plan of that particular forest. But then you mention, different conflicts, so that would be a part of the decision evaluation that the Forest Service would make.
I think this is a place that warrants additional focus, and particularly the idea of making sure that families can keep their base properties as well as part of the process of resolving some of these conflicts. And certainly I look forward to working with you on this.
Be glad to do that. Yes,
pursue
thank
some
you.
of these. You heard a lot about CFLRP.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the challenges we have, we all recognize how many acres of forest need to be treated right now, both with hazardous fuels and more broadly towards a goal of restoration. And in New Mexico, we have a large backlog of already NEPA-ready permitted projects where the backlog is not delays because of environmental permits, NEPA processing, or lawsuits, just because we have not adequately funded these projects and because of staff constraints. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the need for increasing the scale of some of these programs that we know work, and that all of us, if you listen to, Republicans and Democrats from the West on these issues, we know we need to do more. So it is the biggest solution available to us just scaling up those existing programs like CFRP?
Thank you, Senator. I could, yes, and those CFLRP, good neighbor agreements, stewardship contracting, they're all really important tools and to leverage in the right place. And we have to look at the whole landscape, and we use what we do best at, right? The states have some resources; they're good at some things. The Forest Service might be good at some other things. The tribes bring incredible traditional knowledge, and we need to work on the whole mix on the landscape, and all those tools are important. And the state forest action plans, and the New Mexico has just completed their state forest action plan, and it calls for significant increase. But it's not just an increase; it's strategically placing those treatments. We have our scientists have mapped the fire sheds across the whole country. We know where the highest priority fire sheds are that transmit the most fire. And if we can treat strategically 40% of that landscape, we can bring it back into balance. So we need to be strategic, and we need to up our game 2 to 4 times more than what we do now already. And that's going to take resources, and that's going to take significant resources and significant staffing capacity.
And Chairman, you heard 2 to 4 times what we're doing now, and I think that's something we should all be supporting. I think your concept of marrying up the need for firefighters throughout much of the year now, if not the entire year, with restoration as well, so that we can get the forest back in a condition where prescribed fire can actually be used much more readily to maintain that forest condition is a path to a lot more sustainable and healthy forests in the future.